What is going on? Welcome to Greggles TV. Behind me is the TCL NXTFRAME television. So a frame television, which this is, displays artwork. It is mounted flush against the wall. It comes with actually a mount. And if you want to see my setup video, I'll link that down below. I also go through a tips and tricks video, which goes through a lot of the features of the television. I'll link that down below. Today's video is going to be basically how I feel about this television in general. And if you want to purchase this television, link down below, Best Buy and Amazon directly to get it. And without further ado, let's talk about it. So like I said, it does go directly against the back of the wall. You can see right there, it comes with a mount. It's very easy to set up in terms of getting it mounted, but that's what it looks like. I do have some lights behind it. If you want to pick up the lights, I'll link them down below. They work really, really well. And it comes with a frame here. Automatically, it's like this light colored frame that goes all the way around the television. It attaches via like magnetically, and there is some adhesive as well to make it stick even more. But yeah, it's pretty cool in terms of that. Also, it does have an anti-reflective display. So, you know, I don't have any light coming out that way right there, but you can see there's not really anything reflecting against the screen no matter where I look at this television. Now, if I do pull some light, which I will in a minute, showing you the television, you'll notice a little bit of a reflection, but it is, again, an anti-reflective display. Now, I pulled some light on this television. You can see that up here it is, you can see a little bit of the light because it's reflecting off it. But generally, you know, these anti-reflective displays are really, really good. Again, I'm losing a little quality on the view of it because of the light, but ultimately it's not super reflective like a regular television would get. Now, speaking of the light being on the television, I do want to mention that when you're looking at this television with light directly on it, that unfortunately I would like it obviously to be brighter. It's not the brightest television in my house. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 500 nits. It's in that range. It's like 450 to like 520 nits or something like that. So not super bright. So if you have this in a bright room, it might be a little bit underwhelming for you. Now, when you go to these kind of white colors or lighter colors on the television, they definitely look better on here in terms of what you see. But again, it's better in a darker environment, something that's not super bright, but you can still see everything on here, don't get me wrong. I'll pull up a video here. Now here's a nice bright image of me in a video. You can totally see it. There's tons of sun in this room. It's very bright, it's totally seeable, and it looks great. It's when it gets into these darker looks of the television where it struggles a little bit if there's a lot of light in the room. Again, this looks very, very bright, very easy to see, so don't get me wrong. It's like when I go to something like this, I'll go back to it. This, again, I can totally see it, don't get me wrong. It's just what I'm used to with my other televisions. It's just not as bright. So if you have it in a really bright environment, you might be a little underwhelmed, but if you have it in an environment that's not super bright, it'll be completely fine. Now, I also want to mention that when you're using a frame television, most frame televisions aren't very bright by nature. And it has to do with it displaying the artwork. You know, you don't want this super bright image on your television when you're displaying artwork. You want it to be more subdued, kind of hidden in the background. And this television does a great job at that. It's really, really cool. But beyond that, you know, if you wanted something that was going to be, here's a little darker image. I'll load this one up. You can see it. You get the fluorescent fish in there. Looks cool, you know what I mean? And then here's another fish tank. Totally seeable, but again, one of the things that really stood out to me, I'd say a slight negative about the television has been that it's just not as bright as I would want it to be, but again, it's still bright enough. Now, I show the artwork scenes on this, and that's really what this television is all about. In the video about the tips and tricks, I go about 6 minutes in with that. So if you're interested in that, you can go in there. But I do want to let you know that this TV does not have a sensor like the Samsung Frame TVs do have that will allow the television to automatically pop up with artwork sensing any kind of light or anything like that. I reached out to the folks at TCL. They informed me of that. So if you're into like artwork or anything like that and you want it to automatically display. This television currently doesn't do that, and it doesn't have a sensor anywhere around it to indicate that it could do that as well. So keep that in mind. Also, all the artwork in here is free from what I can see. I haven't had to pay for any of this stuff. It all comes with it. You got some cool like Van Gogh stuff, and who's the other guy? Van Gogh, well, Monet. There's tons, there's some really popular, artists in here that you can show their paintings off. And there's even AI stuff that you can create your own artwork. So you can come in here and be like, I want something that's going to be like a Monet, and then you can choose what you want it to be like. You want it to be gorgeous, and you want it to be maybe rainforest, and you hit go, and it creates this image with AI to give you a really cool look. And you can save it, or you can hit retry if you didn't like what it created. And if you hit retry, it will come up with another image that you potentially might like. You can save it to your paintings and show it off when you want to. Now, speaking of the paintings, here is the remote. And at the top here, if you press this button right here, it goes right. I'll just go home real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. If I press this button at the top right, it goes immediately into the artwork page. But beyond that, the remote's really nice. This is definitely the most premium, coolest looking remote I've seen from TCL. Usually they get this kind of uglyish black long remote, and this is really nice. It's pretty minimal in terms of the button layout. It's got a couple of shortcuts for Netflix and YouTube, two of my favorites. A microphone button. I like the volume controls, and the mute button on the right. Runs 2 AA batteries. It's just a great remote. It doesn't glow in the dark or anything, but it has the microphone if you want to talk into Google and do all that stuff. Speaking of Google, this runs Google Television, Celtics score, so you can ask it, stuff like that, or to control your smart home products, because again, it runs Google on here. And speaking of the experience on this is pretty good. It's pretty fast. Google in general Google TV in general is never like the smoothest I've ever seen. Apple TV is the smoothest, but that's not built into any televisions. This is, again, pretty quick about going in and out of apps. And obviously you can connect things via HDMI on the back. But yeah, in terms of just using this, it's pretty fluid, definitely not laggy at all, which is a definite plus. Now, I did mention HDMI ports and things. Like the Samsung Frame TV has a separate box that you just have this one cord basically that runs down that does the power and all the HDMIs, and it goes into this black box that goes into your cabinet wherever you're below your television. This doesn't have that. Everything is plugged into the back of the TV, and you get 4 HDMIs. 2 of them are 60 hertz, which are 3 and 4. 1 and 2 are up to 144 hertz. But one, even though it's 144 hertz, is eARC. So unfortunately, if you have a soundbar like I do right here, the Sonos soundbar, if you have that connected via eARC to the television, it's going to eat up one of your 144 hertz HDMIs. Why is that annoying? Well, it's annoying because if you want to have a soundbar and 2 modern day video game consoles like an Xbox Series X and a PlayStation 5 Pro or 5, those can go up to 120 hertz, and you'd only be able to do that on one of your consoles. So I don't know why they do that. Not the end of the world. Most people probably don't have both consoles, but if you did, it could be an annoyance to you. So keep that in mind. Speaking of gaming, I'm going to show you off some gaming next. It does a really good job because it has up to 144 hertz. But let's just check out a little bit of gaming. I just wanted to show you some of the views on the television. Television is really good looking television, really good quality. This is 4K, it's showing off. The viewing angles, as long as there's really not any sun coming into the room, are pretty good. You lose a little bit of color when you go off to the side. But I mean, most people don't sit directly on that side. They either sit at an angle right here, which is really good, or they move over and they're sitting basically in the middle, and it just looks great. It's a really, really nice looking television. In these dark environments or darker environments, it looks really nice. Even when there's light in here, you can still see it, but it's still a great looking image. Here's a little sound sample of the speakers, not using the sound bar.
I'd rather be naive and bitter. Decorate my hopes and glitter.
One thing I notice about the sound just through the speakers is, and it could be because I'm really used to my sound bar, but the bass is really lacking. Volume is really loud though. It gets nice and loud. Bass is just okay. As with pretty much any television, you don't have to do this because again, the sound is perfectly passable and good. I would get some kind of sound bar and a subwoofer as well. I get my subwoofer down there to get the best sound. All right, so here's everything I like about the television. I like the remote, easy to use, looks really cool and stylish. I love the frame element of this. I love that it goes flush against the wall. I love that it comes with a mount already. I love that it has a frame that goes around it that's light colored and matches my room. I love the artwork on here. I love that it has AI built into it, as well as some really beautiful artworks and pieces, and also kind of screensavers such as like a fish tank. I love all of that. I love the anti-reflective display so that if it's in a bright room or a room with a lot of reflection, that it kind of dims that off and it kind of stops it. It does a really good job at it. I love the quality of the display. It's nice and clear and just a good quality image in general. I love that it runs Google TV. Google TV has all the apps that I want. It also has the ability to install apps that aren't in the store, which is awesome if you're into that type of thing. And it's generally pretty fast and fluid to use. The sound is fine, but I would recommend getting a soundbar and a subwoofer. But again, I pretty much recommend that on any television. And then the things that I don't really love, that it isn't really amazing for a really bright room. It definitely passes, but it's just not as bright as I would personally want when there's sun basically right on it. Also the fact that I kind of wish I had one of those little boxes that the Samsung Frame TV has that houses all the HDMIs, and I don't have to pull this away from the wall or take it off of my wall in order to get everything connected to it. It has enough HDMIs at 4, but it would have been cool again if it had a little box, but not the end of the world. The other thing I would mention too is that I wish that their eARC port was part of one of the 3 or 4 HDMI ports that are just 4K 60. That way, in case I have 2 game consoles, I can run them both up to their highest potential. Beyond that, I love this TV. It's really, really nice. Can totally recommend it. It's not perfect, but it's really, really nice. Link down below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you down the road. Peace.